Have you ever looked at the world around you? The sprawling railroads, the gleaming skyscrapers, the cars filling our roads, the electric lights illuminating our nights, and the very concept of modern finance, and wondered how it all came to be. Who were the audacious visionaries, the relentless titans, who literally laid the foundations for the America we know today? Prepare to have your understanding of American history and the forces that shaped it revolutionized by The Men Who Built America from the History Channel. This masterful docudrama series isn't just a dry historical account. It's a high-stakes, gripping narrative that brings to life the cutthroat rivalries, groundbreaking innovations, and immense personal struggles of five of the most powerful and influential figures in American history: Cornelius Vanderbilt, John D. Rockefeller, Andrew Carnegie, J.P. Morgan, and Henry Ford. It chronicles how these self-made men, emerging from the ashes of the Civil War, transformed a fractured nation into a global economic superpower through their sheer will, ambition, and often ruthless business tactics. The series meticulously follows the intertwined paths of these industrial giants, showing how their individual ambitions collided and collaborated to create the backbone of modern American industry. Cornelius Vanderbilt, the ruthless innovator and master of monopoly. Born in Staten Island to a modest family, Vanderbilt began his career as a ferryman, earning the nickname the Commodore. He was a self-made man with an unparalleled competitive drive. From waterways to railways, Vanderbilt first dominated the steamboat industry through aggressive price wars, often forcing competitors to sell out to him. He was known for his strategy of cutting costs and prices below his rivals while maintaining reliable service. He would even accept bribes from competitors to move his business, only to then come back and undercut them again. Around age 70, he shocked everyone by pivoting entirely to railroads. He saw the future of transportation lay in sprawling rail networks, not individual ferry lines. Building a railroad empire, Vanderbilt systematically acquired control of key railroad lines, including the New York and Harlem Railroad, the Hudson River Railroad, and the New York Central Railroad. His genius lay in his ability to consolidate these fragmented lines into cohesive, efficient systems. He understood that controlling entire routes, rather than just segments, gave him immense power. His move to build the Grand Central Depot in New York City was a strategic masterpiece, centralizing control and solidifying his monopoly. Tactics: Vanderbilt was infamous for his take-no-prisoners approach. He would cut services, block bridges, and manipulate stock prices to crush rivals. He was a master negotiator who leveraged his power to secure the best deals, keeping costs low and profits high. He was less concerned with public opinion and more with absolute control and efficiency. His ruthless tactics earned him the label robber baron by some, but his innovations undeniably streamlined transport across the growing nation. John D. Rockefeller, the architect of oil and standardization. Rockefeller started from humble beginnings as a bookkeeper in Cleveland. He was meticulous, patient, and had an almost obsessive desire for order and efficiency. He didn't chase speculative oil discoveries. He focused on the more stable and profitable refining business. Controlling the flow, Rockefeller recognized early on that controlling the refining and transportation of oil was more lucrative and stable than drilling for it. He systematically acquired rival refineries, famously during the Cleveland Massacre, where he bought out 22 of 26 competing refineries in a 6-week period in 1872. Vertical and horizontal integration. Standard Oil employed both strategies ruthlessly. He engaged in horizontal integration by buying out competitors, often through predatory pricing. If a rival wouldn't sell, he'd undercut their prices until they faced ruin. For vertical integration, he controlled everything from oil wells, pipelines, rail cars, and distribution networks. This gave him unprecedented control over the entire supply chain, allowing him to cut costs and squeeze out any competition. Secret deals and rebates. Rockefeller famously struck secret deals with railroads for rebates, discounts on shipping that his competitors didn't get. He even received a portion of the higher freight rates charged to his rivals, essentially making money off their inability to compete. This was a key tactic in his monopolistic dominance. The trust, to consolidate his vast holdings and circumvent state laws, Rockefeller innovated the trust model, where he and his partners swapped their individual company holdings for shares in a central trust. This gave him centralized control and veto power over an immense conglomerate, setting a precedent for future corporate structures, but also leading to major antitrust legislation. Efficiency and innovation. Beyond his controversial tactics, Rockefeller was a pioneer in efficiency. He hired chemists to find new uses for petroleum byproducts, like Vaseline and paraffin wax, ensuring no part of the oil went to waste. This focus on maximizing output and minimizing waste was a hallmark of his business acumen. Andrew Carnegie, the Steel King and philanthropist. A Scottish immigrant who started as a bobbin boy, Carnegie embodied the rags-to-riches story. He was highly intelligent, a voracious reader, and incredibly ambitious. Embracing technology, Carnegie was quick to adopt new technologies, most notably the Bessemer process, which allowed for the mass production of high-quality steel at a fraction of the previous cost. He believed in reinvesting profits back into his mills to ensure they had the most advanced equipment. Cost-cutting and efficiency. Like Rockefeller, Carnegie was obsessed with cutting costs. He would hire experts to constantly analyze and improve the efficiency of his steel mills, understanding that even small savings per ton would lead to massive profits at scale. He expanded during depressions when construction costs were low and competitors were struggling. Vertical integration in steel. Carnegie also mastered vertical integration. He bought iron ore mines in Minnesota, controlled the ships that transported the ore across the Great Lakes, owned the railroads that brought it to his mills in Pittsburgh, and even owned coal fields to fuel his furnaces. This ensured a steady supply of raw materials and control over the entire production process. Management style. Carnegie was known for his ability to identify and hire talented managers, delegating significant authority to them while holding them accountable for results. However, he also faced criticism for his harsh stance on labor, exemplified by the brutal Homestead Strike of 1892, where workers protesting wage cuts were met with private security forces and violence. The gospel of wealth. After accumulating his immense fortune, Carnegie famously advocated for the wealthy to use their money for the public good, a philosophy outlined in his essay, The Gospel of Wealth. He sold his company to J.P. Morgan and dedicated the rest of his life to philanthropy, establishing libraries, universities, Carnegie Mellon, and peace initiatives. J.P. Morgan, the financial architect and stabilizer. Born into a wealthy banking family, Morgan represented the old money elite, but he was no less driven than the self-made men. He was a force of order and consolidation, using finance to shape industries. The power of finance. Morgan didn't build factories or lay railroads directly, he financed them. He was a master of orchestrating massive mergers and acquisitions, bringing order to chaotic industries like railroads and steel. He saw the inefficiency in cutthroat competition and sought to create stable, profitable behemoths. Industrial consolidation. His most famous feats include arranging the merger of Edison General Electric and Thomson Houston Electric to form General Electric, and the monumental creation of U.S. Steel, which bought out Carnegie Steel and other companies to become the world's first billion-dollar corporation. He essentially created modern corporate America through these consolidations. Crisis management. Morgan repeatedly stepped in during financial panics, most notably the Panic of 1907, when the U.S. government lacked a central bank. He would rally fellow bankers, use his vast personal fortune, and coerce others to lend money, effectively stabilizing the economy. This demonstrated his immense power and the trust placed in him by the financial community. Influence and controversy. Morgan wielded power far beyond that of any politician, often operating behind the scenes. Critics saw him as controlling too much of the nation's wealth and manipulating markets for his own gain, leading to scrutiny by government committees. He represented the immense, sometimes unchecked power of finance in the Gilded Age. Henry Ford, the visionary of mass production and the middle-class Ford, unlike the others, started with an entirely different vision: to build an automobile affordable for the common man, not just the wealthy. He was an engineer and an inventor first, driven by an almost idealistic belief in the power of the machine. The assembly line revolution. While he didn't invent the concept of the assembly line, It existed in other industries like slaughterhouses. Ford revolutionized its application to automobile manufacturing. By breaking down car assembly into small, repetitive tasks and bringing the work to the worker on a moving conveyor belt, he drastically cut production time and costs. The Model T, which once took over 12 hours to build, could be assembled in 90 minutes. Democratizing the automobile, Ford's innovation made the automobile accessible. The price of the Model T plummeted from $850 to under $300, putting it within reach of ordinary working-class families. This fundamentally changed American society, leading to the growth of suburbs, highways, and new industries. The $5 workday. To combat high worker turnover due to the monotony of assembly line work, Ford famously instituted the $5 workday in 1914, more than doubling the average wage. This revolutionary move not only secured a stable workforce, but also created a new class of consumers who could afford to buy the products they produced. This concept, known as Fordism, became a model for industrial production globally, linking higher wages with mass consumption. Controlling the worker. While progressive in wages, Ford was also a rigid control freak. He famously sent sociological department agents to check on his employees' personal lives, dictating aspects of their behavior and morals outside the factory. This reflected a paternalistic yet authoritarian approach to management. Later controversies. The series touches on his later, more controversial years, including his anti-Semitic writings and his strong anti-union stance, showing the complex and sometimes troubling evolution of his persona. Together, these men, with their distinct personalities and often clashing ambitions, represent the raw, unbridled energy of American industrialization. They built the infrastructure, created the industries, and defined the economic principles that continue to shape the world. Their stories are a testament to the power of individual will, but also a stark reminder of the ethical dilemmas inherent in the pursuit of immense power and wealth.